Hey guys, hope everyone's staying safe and enjoying their time at home with their families. To get into this, I did my presentation on disorders and different behavioral issues in the school system. There are a lot of different disabilities and disorders that kids deal with on a daily basis, and it really makes it hard for them as they go through their schooling. Some things, for example, would be ADHD. There's kids who are on the autism spectrum, people with anxiety disorders, depression, PTSD. Then you have kids who have behavioral issues. A lot of the times, these behavioral issues can be a result of something that happens at home. Kids like to throw attitudes at teachers who have these problems. Some kids can be the ones who throw tantrums, and so all different kinds of issues can cause disruptions in the classroom, and that just makes it really hard for people to focus, and it makes it hard for the teachers to teach. Sometimes it can be really hard for people with disorders to be able to learn effectively in the classroom. For example, people with ADHD, their attention can be all over the place, and then you mix that in with a kid with attitude problems and behavioral issues, and so their concentration can go from their homework to the person who's causing the distractions, and then just everything can become a distraction for that person. It can be hard for the teachers to teach the students who have behavioral issues because they know that they're not getting the respect from them that they need, and they're just not paying attention. Something that I noticed back when I was in high school would be kids just talking over teachers, always on their phones. Kids would walk out of the classroom and just not come back. It's also hard for teachers to be able to teach to those with disorders sometimes because they know that they need to teach it in different ways from the rest of the class, so that way everyone can understand what is going on. Some stats that I would like to bring up is that according to edweek.org, 13.7% of students are considered special ed, and according to ncs.ed.gov, 34% of students have an IEP. And that goes to show that there is a pretty big chunk of students who have some sort of disability that requires extra attention in the classroom, so that way they can receive the education that they deserve. To solve this, back in my high school, what they did was we had pairs who were specifically there for special education, and they taught one subject, and then they would pair in other classes, so that way they could keep track of their students and make sure that they got the help that they needed. Class-wise, there was some specific special education classrooms where it was only for students with disabilities, so that way they can get the help that they need, and these class sizes were smaller. There was only maybe 10 people maximum in a class. And then other classes, they would have 1 or 2 kids that had a learning disability in there, and then they always had the para in that class, so that way they could get the help too. For students with behavioral issues, we actually have this school here in Omaha called Ideal, and that is a sort of reform school. So kids who would get kicked out of their high school would get sent here, and this helped the actual high school because it eliminated the kids who would cause distractions and cause problems. and then it sent them to these specialized schools where they wouldn't be able to cause as many problems because there's not as many people who go there, and it's all people really dealing with the same problems. A lot of the times these kids with behavioral issues are the bullies of the school, and they don't really have a lot of care for the way other people think and the way that people are. And so there were always kids who got bullied for being in the special ed classrooms. It was always bad when more than one kid with behavioral issues got into a group, because a lot of times that's when fights break out, and because of people bullying, there's also fights that break out, and these fights cause distractions because everyone wants to see, and then police end up having to come to the school, and it just caused one big disruption. I personally think my high school was really good at taking care of people with disorders and disabilities, and taking care of those with the behavioral issues. It really gave kids with disorders and disabilities an opportunity to get their education, and it also, by sending the behavioral issue kids to a different location, they really were trying to eliminate the distractions for everyone else in school.